channel. For this video, for today's video, let me make my screen bigger. So for today's video, I have planned to shortly explain deployments, like how you can deploy web applications, where we have like multiple components like backend, front end, and etc. And also how you can configure it on, for example, on cloud. So and as an example, we will use again CodeKN project. This is quite, for now, it's quite simple website where you can see a list of the articles. If you are not familiar with this project, you can find more on my channel. So there is quite some videos on this project. And for now, what I want to do, first I want to explain which parts of the project are already ready, what we have, let's say, for now. And then give a bit more information on system design for this project, and later on we can see what we can add more. As I said, if during the process you will have some questions, please send me in the chat, so I will try to respond them. And let's start. So for this project, right now I have, in terms of infrastructure, I have, let me draw it. So I have a Kubernetes. In some of my videos, I already showed like how I used Kubernetes to deploy. I will have one more video this week where I show in a live style how, for example, I make some changes. I have a new version of the software, and then I deploy it immediately to the Kubernetes, so you can see it in a live mode. But for now, in terms of like high-level design, everything is deployed in Kubernetes. By everything, I mean my front end and back end application. So let me show it. So basically, if you're not familiar, so KN project, we have it on GitHub. Let me first open the project. Code KN. This is a source code of the project. You can see everything that I have on my screen. So you can get backend source code, front end, and even deployment configurations. So I will refer to the same code base for now. Let me open it in a Visual Studio Code. And in parallel, I want to show like we have Kubernetes, but what's in Kubernetes, what we are deploying in Kubernetes. So for now, we have two parts. And when for example, when I make some changes on front end, which is for now called Flash. So let me say front end, and name of the project is Flash. So in this project, I have Kubernetes configuration and also some automated scripts. For example, I say build image, which is Docker image, and then I can also publish this image. I can have versioning. And by the way, for all this, I use Docker Hub. And when I have a new version, I deploy it to, I make an image, push it to the Docker Hub. And then during the deployment process, I receive this image. So it's an automatic process. So basically, when I say deploy this Kubernetes configuration, this file will be picked up and deployed. And for this, I have, since this is private repository, I have quite some configuration to pull this image. So since for deployment I use DigitalOcean, and for my images I use Docker Hub. So this is hub and docker.com, I guess. So since it is two separate infrastructure, they don't have like direct connection, it's through internet. So I need to specify how I want to get this image. So basically there is a connection, this is internet actually, and to be able to pull images from this hub, which is Docker registry basically, I need to provide some credentials. You can see it on if you take a look to this repository, you can see that there is README explaining how you can do it by yourself, of course by providing your password. But for now I don't want to focus on this part. If you want to know more on this particular part, let me know. I will add some more details. But for now, let's keep it. So as you can see, we have this connection pull image, which is via internet. So let's continue. So when I have a new deployment, I deploy this image in. I create and publish this image in Docker Hub. And it's true for both my services. So for front end, and this is a, let's say, backend, and we call this backend application profx. So for both of these services, when I have a new image, I deploy it to the Kubernetes, and Kubernetes automatically pull this from Docker Hub. But this is not all. In parallel with my Kubernetes configuration, I also have a database cluster. And this is also in my DigitalOcean account. So as you can see, I have, so load balancer in this case is my domain name connect to my Kubernetes service. So you can find this service here. This is my service. If you're not familiar, so basically, in this case, with service, I expose my internal application to the external world. And then I have another configuration for networking, which basically connects this domain to my application, to my Kubernetes cluster. So let me also put it here. So for normal users, let's also draw some borders. So for normal users, we have a domain name. So they access all this through this domain name. There will be one exception. I will explain it in a second. So this is our domain, and when user visits it, there is a, of course, domain name, service provider, and etc. But finally, it goes to our Kubernetes service. So for now, let's draw it very high level. But there is all, of course, first goes to the domain, and then domain points to the our cluster. But as I said, there is a special case. For example, let's say later on we decide to have, for example, API for our mobile applications, which is our, let's say, special case API. It will work the same way. So since our mobile applications, they will be on a user end. So they will have, let's say, an application, and this application will connect to our server. And this will also work as a normal way. Of course, there will be some authentication to check that it's our application, not someone else. But this is also valid. So let me put it on the screen. So mobile. Yeah, something like this. So for now, I think this is okay. I will later update it. So this is our pods. We have Kubernetes, and as I said, we also have a database cluster, which is MySQL, and there is also connectivity between these two. So let me put first this arrow. And to be able to connect this to this database cluster, I have to provide some configuration. Let me show it in my source code. So basically, for each application that requires a database connectivity, I need to provide, let me show it. I need to provide yeah, this one. So and this one. So as you can see, this is my backend deployment, and this is my front-end deployment, and they both have connectivity on database, and that's why I provide database host, database port, and everything related to database cluster. And also since there is also username and password when I need to connect to the database, I also have this configuration. And this it's a bit different than this ones because in this case I say that a database username stored in my secret, which is and I can refer to it by name and key. For example, I say that in this secret, and you can propagate the secret. There is a special file. In open source version, you can see template for this one. I will not open it because I have actual database password, but I can show it on my on a public version. Because when I push to the GitHub, I clean up it a bit. So so passwords are not public. But basically, this file looks like this. So you have a credential file or secret file in terms of Kubernetes, and in this secret file you provide your username and password. And then once you have this file, you can use a special configuration like this, and say that username will be name and key from this secret, and password will be this name and key from the same secret. And once we have it, so let me go back to my DigitalOcean account. So when you have this database cluster and this configuration, then from your application you can have connectivity to the database. And I also probably I will show it later in one of the next videos, but basically you can also have connectivity from IDE. For example, if you use Visual Studio Code or Golang or something else for code, for editor, as editor, you can also have, using this username and password, you can have connectivity to the database and see data in your database. But in terms of code, it's clear. So you need to provide this configuration. But just providing this configuration, it's not all, because when you use, for example, let's see it in an example of front-end application. Let's say from my front-end application, I want to get a list of the articles. So basically this page. And this data is in database, which is here. And that's why in my Flash application, I need to provide all these environment variables saying that to connect to the database, use this configuration. And by using this configuration, make requests to the database. And this is done. This should be done in your code base, and in this case of front-end application, it looks like this. So I have this config. I set all these variables, which means that, for example, for username, get environment variable dbc username. But if there is nothing, use default one for profx, which is profx. And this is very useful for your local test. And you might ask that what is this dbc username? This is exactly what we saw previously. So since this is a Flash application, in my Flash application I have I have this username, and using this I can get this actual username or password. And by having it, you are totally free. For example, you generate an image, and this image you can deploy in your local machine. You can deploy it in DigitalOcean, or later if you switch to another cloud provider, you can use the same. And also you can like embed it in your image. By embedding, I mean that you can build your application, have all this configuration. Since you don't hard code your password, when this image will be deployed to actual environment, you will get this password. I think very high level, this is mostly it. I mean, right now we don't have like that much of advanced configuration. We have just database, we have Kubernetes, we have for now 2 pods, these are called pods, and we have one domain which is connected to Kubernetes through the service. Maybe let me put also this service here so we see it. So it's also visible in our design. So this is as service, which means that also this will go here. And then we have connectivity between these two. And for image management, or for new versions of our application, we have this connectivity from Kubernetes to Docker Hub. And every time when we have a new version of our application, we build this image and push it to the Docker Hub. I think that's it for this particular video. I wanted to keep it very high level. This video is mostly for testing this live stream settings. It seems to be working, but I think I need to be prepared, like uptime in advance to this live sessions, because I send these links a couple of minutes before this live stream. My plan is to have maybe daily live streams, but at some specific time. I mean, in my case, it can be so I can do these live streams quite late, and I need to see what time works for all audience, because we have subscribers from different parts of the world. But we will find it out. Stay tuned. So I will post updates when I have, for example, this plan, when we will have lifetimes and etc. And thank you for watching. I will also try to publish this video. I will need to check how it looks, but I will try to publish it. But for now, thank you for watching, and see you in next videos. Bye bye.